Good morning. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Pagani design PD-1644. This watch is available from AliExpress from Pagani Design official store for €79, and it's also available from Pagani Design Ali Global store for €63. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with a piece. So this is the familiar matte black cardboard watch box that the watch comes in. One thing I like about it is there are two magnets, one in the flap of the lid, one in the base, which attract each other. The watch itself sits on a piece of foam inside a foam cutout panel, as one would expect. So although basic, it does suffice in protecting the watch in shipping from any damage, and I think it's perfectly acceptable to using a cardboard watch box, bearing in mind that this is €63 within the low tier. This is the owner's instruction manual, and this user's manual is basic, although it does have some diagrams and also the instructions are in English, and it does suffice in explaining the operation of the movement used in the PD-1644, which is the Seiko VK63 Mecha Quartz movement. So a useful read if you're unfamiliar with that movement. This is the plastic guarantee card, and on the reverse, as you can see, as is always the case with AliExpress resellers, the date of purchase, the reference number and the dealer stamp aren't filled in, but however I'm pleased to report that the PD-1644 is covered by a 12-month international guarantee, which is very reassuring. One also gets this plastic tag, and as you can see it says Pagani Design Top Waterproof embossed, and I think it's a nice touch to get this included with the piece. And lastly, one also gets this Pagani Design microfiber polishing cloth, and I always think it's a nice touch to get a microfiber polishing cloth included with a watch regardless of the price point, and it's actually a useful item. So with regards to the specifications of the PD-1644, this is clearly an homage to the Rolex Daytona, and it does that very well because it copies the same dimensions of the Daytona. 40mm case diameter. It has a 47.6mm lug-to-lug measurement, it has a thickness of 12mm, and it has a lug width of 20mm. So the first thing I'm going to say is 47.6mm lug-to-lug measurement is very close to what I consider to be the sweet spot of 48mm. So if you're a collector with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches or a collector with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches, you are going to find that 47.6mm lug-to-lug measurement very comfortable and a very snug fit to the wrist due to the curved profile of the underside of the case. It's glazed with sapphire crystal. Now the negative is there is no AR coating on the underside of the flat sapphire crystal, and as you can see when I tilt the piece at an oblique angle it does have a lot of reflection and glare from the silver applied indices, the silver hands on the subdials and also those baton Daytona style hands on the dial. So highly reflective piece. Now some collectors aren't going to consider the lack of AR coating to be a negative, but however it's something I want to bring to your attention because as you can see it is a very reflective piece. The ceramic bezel insert is finished to a very high standard. I think that Pagani Design deserve full credit for producing a very high quality ceramic bezel which has the tachymeter scale on it correctly, and it's just finished to a very good standard. It's the kind of ceramic bezel that one would expect to see on a mid-tier or high-tier piece rather than a low-tier piece costing only €63. Now, this is my favourite version of the PD-1644. It has a silver sunburst dial which contrasts beautifully with the black subdials, and I think the black subdials complement the black ceramic bezel. Screw down pushers, and we also have a screw down crown. Now, with regards to the execution of the screw down pushers, I want to give due credit to Pagani Design because they are absolutely silky smooth. They unscrew and screw back down with no problems whatsoever with the interface of the thread, as does the crown itself. It's also a screw down crown which provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters of water resistance. So it's an absolute pleasure to unscrew the crown to set the date complication. It has a quick set date between the 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock indices on the dial, and I think they've made the correct decision by citing the date window between 4 and 5 o'clock because it retains the symmetry of the applied indices, and it also allows for the 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock and 3 o'clock position of the subdials. And bearing in mind that this is meant to be an homage to the Daytona, it has that Daytona dial layout but with the addition of the date complication, which is something the Daytona itself doesn't have. So the screw down crown is an absolute pleasure to screw down after setting the time and also the date complication. Silky smooth, and it's something that I really like about Pagani design watches. They have a very good crown action. Now, with regards to the pushers, these screw down pushers, the top one activates the chronograph. As you can see when you look at the second hand, it begins to sweep around the dial. Now, bearing in mind that this is a mecha quartz, the ticking of the second hand isn't quite as smooth as with a mechanical movement such as an automatic or a manual wind, but however it is a good compromise. And I really like the use of the Seiko VK63 because it is a reliable, well-proven workhorse mecha quartz movement. So the top pusher stops the chronograph again, and the bottom pusher uses the flyback to put it back to the 12 o'clock index on the dial, as you can see. So I'm pleased to report that the VK63 Mecha Quartz does work correctly. As you can see, it starts and stops correctly, and it also always flies back and resets perfectly to the 12 o'clock index. There's no alignment issues whatsoever. The hands on the subdials also work correctly and they also align perfectly, so no quality control issues whatsoever. Now I'll just screw back down the screw down pushers, and just an absolute pleasure. They feel very light resistance. The threading is silky smooth on both the top pusher and the bottom pusher, and I really like it. I think they deserve full credit because they could have used the cost-cutting measure of not using screw-down pushers. They could have just used pushers without any threading, and I think that that's a nice touch. So with regards to the case back, solid stainless steel as one would expect. It's slightly different from earlier versions. As you can see, this one is engraved with a starfish, and that tells us that this is the latest 2021 version. Early versions of the PD-1664 had Pagani design and the emblem engraved with sports, and also it said PD-1664 in the centre. And I have to be honest and say that I actually preferred the design of the early screw-down casebacks they were using, with the Pagani design emblem in the centre. I don't know why they've opted for this starfish. It is engraved to a high standard, but really the use of a starfish on a chronograph doesn't bear any relation to the functionality of the watch. It's not a dive piece, it's not related to the sea, so it doesn't really make sense. But however, they have done a good job engraving the starfish, and some collectors might find that to be aesthetically pleasing. Brush centre section, concentric brushing, and the circumference of this screw-down case back is mirror polished, which contrasts with the brushed satin finish to the underside of the case. So it provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 metres, as does the screw-down crown, which is coin edge finished. Nice mirror polishing to the cap of the crown. As you can see, it's got a domed finish and the Pagani design emblem. So very well executed coin edge finishing on the pushers and also on the crown. So, with regards to the heft, it's only 93 grams on this Rolex Oyster Flex style bracelet. As you can see, they've put solid stainless steel end links into the lugs to fill the gap between the end of the rubber strap. And they've done a great job because the centre section of the end links are mirror polished and the outer sections are brushed satin finish. And really, it's just like the Rolex Oyster Flex bracelet, and I think they've done a great job of replicating that. The strap tapers, it's thicker at the spring bars and it tapers down to the buckle and tang, and that means that it's reinforced around the spring bar, which is an area which usually splits and cracks. With regards to the material, it's made from vulcanized rubber, and I think that they've made the correct decision. They could have opted for the cost-cutting measure of using silicone rubber. Yes, silicone rubber is more supple and therefore more comfortable to wear, but however, it's not as durable, and silicone rubber straps have a tendency to crack and split around the spring bar. With vulcanized rubber, which is used by Rubber B and also Everest, that you might be familiar with, and also the Rolex Oyster Flex strap is vulcanized rubber, the rubber is stiffer, so it takes longer to break in, but the positive benefit of it being stiffer is it's a more tough rubber than silicone, so it doesn't tend to split and crack. So long term, I would say that this vulcanized rubber strap will be more durable than a silicone rubber strap. The buckle and tang is a nice heavy gauge of metal, and we have the Pagani design emblem engraved, so it's a signed buckle. Nice brushed satin finish to it, and it really is very well finished. Now, one thing I like about the two keepers, one slides, one's fixed, as one would expect. They've got these two teeth, and I'll just show you them in detail. So either side of the rubber strap we have these two teeth, and the fixed keeper engages in between the two teeth. I'll just do that and show you. And that really works very well because it prevents the fix keeper from sliding up and down the strap. One can keep it in position but move the sliding keeper up and down the strap to secure the end of the strap. And it's something I haven't seen on other watch straps. They often have a tooth key, a slot inside the keeper, but this actually works very well. And this kind of attention to detail is something one doesn't often see within the low tier. Stainless steel spring bars are quick release, and that means it's easy to remove the strap and fit a NATO strap or alternatively a bracelet. Now this watch does come in a variety of dial colours, and it also comes on a oyster style bracelet if the rubber strap isn't your personal taste. But I would say to you, if you're a collector with a 6 to 7 inch wrist, consider the rubber strap rather than the oyster bracelet, because at 93 grams it is significantly lighter than the oyster bracelet version and you will find it to be more comfortable. Another feature I like is the fact that the strap is tapered, as I've discussed, which reinforces it around the spring bar, and also they've put this grid formation. It serves two purposes. It makes the strap stiffer but also more reinforced, so it's not going to split and crack. But the other thing it does is it allows a gap for sweat and perspiration to wick away from the wrist. So if you're going to wear this strap in hot weather, it allows sweat to escape from the wrist, and that's a very good design feature, the use of that grid formation. And also it provides webbing, it provides reinforcement to the more prone areas of the strap when it could split. Plenty of holes in the strap to allow for fine tuning the fit, and I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, minor criticism which I apply to a lot of watches is the strap is a fraction too short for my 8-inch wrist. If you have up to a 7.5-inch wrist, the rubber strap will fit you no problem whatsoever. As you can see, it's long enough to engage in the first keeper, but it's just a fraction too short to engage in the second keeper on the strap. So I would say to you, if you are a collector with a 7 to 8-inch wrist, 7.5 inches is the absolute maximum you're going to get out of this strap. But however, if you have an 8-inch wrist, you will need a slightly longer strap. But for the majority of collectors with a 6 to 7-inch wrist, this strap will be no problem whatsoever. Now, as I've discussed, 47.6mm lug-to-lug measurement is very close to the sweet spot of 48mm, which I consider to be perfection. Very comfortable profile, curved profile to the underside of the case. It's a very snug fit to the wrist and it does feel absolutely weightless. One thing I want to bring to your attention is this gives sublime feel-good factor and also comfort. If you're going to wear this for long periods of time as a daily wear piece for 8 to 12 hours per day, you're going to find it to be very comfortable at only 93 grams on the rubber strap. Also, it's only 12mm thick because it has a flat sapphire crystal, so this is easily going to fit underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. So a low profile piece, very flat on the wrist due to the flat stainless steel case back and flat sapphire crystal. And the silver sunburst dial, although highly reflective due to the lack of AR coating on the underside of the sapphire crystal, it is a very eye-catching piece. I love the glossy finish to the ceramic bezel, and I also love the reflection of the silver sunburst dial and the contrasting silver hands on the sub-dials. So, like the Daytona, which it is an homage to, it is a very aesthetically pleasing piece. Comfortable, feel-good factor is excellent, and I think that they've done an incredible job of producing an homage. So the sapphire crystal is more scratch resistant than mineral crystal, which is a positive. Really the only negative is the lack of AR coating. Now, with regards to the specification of the movement, it uses the Seiko VK63 Mecha Quartz, which is made in Japan. The VK63 is a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. It's been used in a number of watches by various brands over the years. No reliability issues whatsoever, no build quality or quality control issues. The accuracy is plus or minus 20 seconds per month, which is incredible. I want you to consider that. Plus or minus 20 seconds per month. That's better than 1 second per day accuracy. So very accurate movement, very reliable. The battery life is also very impressive. The battery life of the VK63 is stated as 3 years. Now bear in mind, the 3-year battery life is based upon you using the chronograph complication for 60 minutes per day. But in reality, the majority of collectors aren't going to be using the chronograph complication for 60 minutes per day. If you use it for less than 60 minutes per day, it will extend that 3-year battery life, and it's nothing unusual for VK63 batteries to last for 4 or 5 years. Obviously, if you use the chronograph complication in excess of 60 minutes per day, that will significantly shorten the 3-year battery life. But however, to buy a watch for only €63 and to have that plus or minus 20 seconds per day accuracy with a 3-year battery life is just incredible longevity in terms of the durability of the battery. So I think that is a very positive note, that it's got Seiko VK63 movement made in Japan, 3-year battery life and plus or minus 20 seconds per day. So let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to its absolute maximum. So as always, I will use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to its absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. The baton style hands and also the applied indices don't allow for a large plot of C3 Luminova to be applied, but having said that, it is glowing brightly and it is also continuing to glow for a good length of time. So it's actually surprisingly good, and it looks like Pagani Design have actually improved the quality of the C3 Luminova they're using. I previously reviewed the Bersiger version of this, the BG1644, which is the same watch. Bersiger, Benya and Pagani Design are all made in the same factory, and the Lume was definitely weaker on that earlier version of the PD-1664, which is called the BG1644 when it's made by Bersiger. So they have improved the quality of the C3 Luminova. Yes, it's not as good as C3 Super Luminova, but at only €63, one has to expect some cost-cutting measures. But this is definitely better quality Lume than they were using on earlier versions. So I think they deserve full credit for increasing the quality or improving the quality of the Luminova, but without increasing the price point of the piece. They've kept it at €63. So lastly, I'll surmise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price points. So the respective price point of this piece is €63. Yes, it is unquestionably excellent quality, and yes, it is unquestionably excellent value. I'm going to declare this a champagne watch for lemonade money. For €63, you simply cannot beat this for value and quality. If you're looking for a Daytona Homage, this is loaded with specification for only €63. Sapphire crystal, ceramic bezel, Seiko VK63 made in Japan. You're getting a chronograph which is plus or minus 20 seconds per day with a 3-year battery life. The comfort and feel-good factor of this Oyster Flex style strap is just incredible. So what are the negatives to the piece? Well, as I've discussed, the only negative to this piece is the lack of the AR coating on the underside of the sapphire crystal, but however, that is acceptable bearing in mind the low tier price point of only €63. The only other negative is that the Lume isn't as potent as C3 Super Luminova, but again, one has to be realistic. This is a €63 watch. They haven't cut corners with the sapphire crystal. They could have used mineral crystal or hardlex. And really, I think they have produced the best quality chronograph watch, the best quality Daytona Homage piece they could for €63. So I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. This is an outstanding piece. So I hope you've liked my review of the Pagani Design PD-1644. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.